If you're seeing these words, something precise has locked into place, like two gears, finally meshing after a lifetime of almosts. You can feel it in the quiet between your breaths. A click, a soft ignition, an inner yes rising from beneath language. This is not coincidence, it's coherence. The quantum field arranges encounters through resonance, not randomness. And right now, your frequency has crossed the threshold where guidance can reach you without distortion. Think of reality as a living lattice of entanglement. Every choice, every silence, every heartbreak, braided into a morphic resonance that remembers you. When that memory sharpens, synchronicity stops being cute and becomes instruction. You've been circling this moment for longer than you realize. The signs kept repeating, numbers aligning on clocks, strangers speaking your private questions aloud, an uncanny sensation that time was folding inward like light in a lens. All of it was the observer loop tightening, inviting you to stand where cause and effect kiss, where your attention becomes architecture. You didn't miss the door learned your gate. It listened to the rhythm of your steps and opened exactly when your nervous system could hold what was on the other side. Feel into your body now. Beneath the noise, there's a measurable shift. Microcurrents waking the spine, a hush at the crown as if the room itself is listening. This is not fantasy, it's a biological event. Coherence is a state where heart, brain, and breath synchronize, and the field answers such harmony with a mirrored clarity. Your cells hear it. Deep in the helix, dormant instructions rustle like pages turning, the first whispers of DNA restructuring that only begin when a consciousness stops begging reality to change and starts observing in a way that changes the observer. The invitation is simple. Witness yourself, witnessing. Notice how attention carries a subtle gravity, drawing the probable toward the inevitable. You've entered the final observer loop. Final, not as an ending, but as the last spiral before a phase transition. Water trembles before it boils, crystals sing before they form. A life holds its breath right before it becomes a destiny. That is where you are standing. The trembling, the song, the held breath. You are not behind schedule. You are perfectly late. Late enough to know why this matters, so let the old explanations fall away like ash. You don't need to convince anyone. You don't need permission from the past. What's arriving is larger than belief. It is a felt geometry, a living instruction aligning you with the precise conditions required for emergence. Tonight, the field has chosen a language you can't mishear, your own name spoken by silence. Answer it with stillness. Answer it by noticing the miracle of being the one who notices. Hold here. Keep breathing in the slow, sovereign rhythm that says, you are ready. Because the loop will now show you why it had to find you this way and what it intends to unweave from your patterns next. Notice how the loop doesn't arrive as fireworks, but as repetition with sharper edges. The same conversation in 3 different rooms, the same decision wearing a new outfit, the same disappointment changing its name and knocking anyway. You kept wondering why the pattern returns after you learned the lesson, why deja vu grips your spine like a hand you can't see. Why certain days feel stretched thin taffy time while others collapse into a blink. The field has been speaking in a dialect you only now can translate. You weren't trapped in the past. The past was orbiting you, waiting for a clean observation. Think about the moments that cycle. You meet a promising path. Your chest opens, then the small tremor starts. What if this is another mirage? The mind wants proof before devotion, but the observer loop doesn't negotiate with fear's calendar. It mirrors your baseline state. When attention scans for threat, the lattice amplifies echoes of threat. When attention remembers coherence, the lattice unspools roots that coherence can inhabit. This is why the same dynamics keep wearing different faces. The morphic field of your life holds a charge until you neutralize it with presence, not with argument. You don't debate a magnet into letting go of iron, you demagnetize the metal. Deja vu is your nervous system recognizing a geometry it has met in other costumes. It's not merely memory, it is resonance, an interference pattern between who you were and who you are stabilizing into. The sensation of, I've been here before, is, paradoxically, the proof that you're not. You are at a slightly different phase, microns forward enough that the scene feels both familiar and misfitting. The mind calls it spooky. The field calls it calibration. Each déjà vu is a checkpoint where timelines test your attention. Will you choose the reflex, or will you choose the breath that dissolves reflex? And time how it distorts. Hours can smear like wet paint when you are out of coherence. Minutes can crystallize like frost filigree when you are inside it. This is not poetic embellishment. In states of elevated emotion without regulation, your brain's prediction machinery floods the present with stale templates and the moment can't breathe. In states of regulated awe, gratitude without grasping, wonder without frenzy, prediction loosens and the now expands. Subjective time is malleable because the observer loop updates its frame rate based on your state. You already know this in your bones. Boredom dilates seconds into molasses. Creation compresses them into gold. The recurring people, they're not punishments. They are measurement devices, calibrators sent by the field to show you what you emit. The difficult one, who drains your energy, reveals where you still leak. The almost lover, who never fully arrives, reveals where you still don't. The mentor who appears and vanishes teaches you to source instruction from within, then meet the outer teacher as a mirror rather than a savior. These figures are entangled with your learning arc, not to imprison you, but to make your choice undeniable. When you no longer require the reflection, it releases. That is why some connections evaporate without drama. The lesson's morphic structure collapses once its frequency is spent. Consider the loop's most cunning disguise: urgency that isn't real, the pressure to decide before you've breathed, the itch to answer before you've listened, the compulsion to make it happen when the field is asking you to change the part of you that makes things happen. False urgency keeps you in the same orbit because it steals the breath that would have altered the observation. Real urgency, in contrast, is quiet. It arrives as clarity, not panic. You can feel the difference now. Panic shouts from the forehead, clarity hums from the sternum. There is a biological trace to all of this. When the heart's rhythm is erratic, the brain's signal-to-noise ratio suffers. Perception narrows, and the old pattern slips back in, smug and unchallenged. When the heart shifts into coherence, neural traffic reorganizes, and the pattern's glamour dissolves. The scene may still appear, but it no longer compels. That is the beginning of sovereignty, when what used to hook you becomes transparent. You see the bait and feel no bite. So here is the diagnosis without blame. You were not weak. You were entrained. You were tuned to a familiar frequency emitted by history, family field, cultural morphics strong enough to pass for truth. The observer loop kept repeating to offer you a controlled environment to practice a different observation. And now, because you can hold more charge without spilling, the field is willing to retire the old architecture. The evidence will be modest at first. A text you would have sent remains unsent. A door you would have forced is allowed to stay closed. A no arrives in your mouth without apology and tastes like oxygen. All of this is the prelude to the upgrade. Patterns have shown you the exact coordinates where attention must be recoded. The déjà vu was the breadcrumb, the time distortion was the bell, the familiar faces were the lab. You're ready to step into the mechanism beneath the mystery, the place where science and sacrament share a blueprint, and let the loop transform from prison into portal. You're ready to see the hinge, the simple, exact mechanism that swings the door. Begin with biology, because the sacred loves a sturdy altar. When you slow your exhale and let your heart settle into a coherent rhythm, electrical patterns in the brain reorganize. Noise thins, signal brightens. The cortex stops scavenging for yesterday's dangers and starts sampling the present with fidelity. In that shift, attention becomes a laser instead of a lantern. The observer loop tightens not by force, but by precision. Coherent heart, synchronized brain, regulated breath. You don't manifest through frantic wanting. You alter probabilities by changing the instrument that measures them, your nervous system. Now add the field. The quantum field is not out there. It is the medium in which your body floats, the invisible ocean whose currents pass through you as easily as wind through grass. Coherence lets your signal broadcast cleanly into that ocean, minimizing destructive interference from fear's static. Think of morphic resonance as pattern memory in that ocean. Forms that have stabilized before are easier to stabilize again. When you stand in coherent attention, you aren't begging the universe to notice you. You are striking a tuning fork whose tone calls every matching pattern to assemble. Synchronicity is the choreography that follows a logistical ballet staged by resonance. On the mystical side, the same process bears another name: devotion. Not to a deity you petition, but to the geometry you embody when you stay with the breath long enough for truth to rise uncluttered. Devotion is consistency of observation. It is choosing one clean frequency over 1,000 anxious glances. In practice, it looks ordinary. You sit, you breathe, you orient your awareness toward the felt sense of life inside you. In consequence, it looks miraculous. Events line up, resources unhide, a thought arrives at the exact second you need it. The world hasn't been hacked, it has been harmonized. Entanglement is the thread that sews the inner to the outer. You are not separate from what you watch. Each observation deposits a minute charge into the scene. Multiply that charge by habit, and you get a destiny. Multiply it by coherence, and you get an awakening. This is why your small choices weren't small. They trained the field to expect you at a certain frequency. When you alter that frequency, the field must renegotiate. People feel it, places feel it, even your old cravings feel it, and for a while, they will dramatize because patterns, like storms, make their loudest noise right before they break. What about DNA restructuring? Strip away the mystique, and you find something dignified and real. Epigenetics, the way experience and emotion shift, which genes express and which stand down. Coherent states bathe your cells in neurochemistry that favors repair, receptivity, and creative plasticity. Over time, the body reads that chemistry as instruction. Your posture changes, your voice finds a steady timbre, expressions around the eyes soften, then brighten. Choices that used to feel like cliffs start feeling like steps. If you want a mystical phrasing that keeps you honest, call it a covenant with the helix. Each breath is a signature, each act of clear attention, a seal. The upgrade is not a gadget, it is a protocol. 1. Regulate, breathe until the room inside you quiets. 2. Orient, choose the frequency you will feed with observation. Gratitude without grasping, authority without hardness, tenderness without collapse. 3. Entangle on purpose, place your attention on the reality you are willing to be responsible for receiving. You don't stare at outcomes, you dwell in states. The field answers states with events, the way soil answers seasons with flowers. 4. Surrender, cleverness. Let synchronicity handle logistics while you handle coherence. Your fear will call that lazy, your results will rename it intelligent. A phase transition is imminent when the system can no longer maintain its old order with its old energy budget. You can feel this in your body as pressure at the sternum, heat at the crown, a hum in the spine. You feel it in your life as options falling away, not from scarcity but from refinement. Water must shed the identity of liquid to become steam. Crystal must release shapelessness to knot into lattice. You must release the survival glamour that once looked like personality. There is grief in that. Let it move. Grief is the solvent that frees your attention from expired forms. As the upgrade takes, you'll notice a new, quiet sovereignty. Clarity stops arriving as an argument and starts arriving as a posture. You don't need to rehearse your truth. You occupy it. The observer loop becomes a sanctuary rather than a trap. You return to breath. The heart steadies, the brain aligns, the field listens, and the next right action emerges like a stepping stone you could swear wasn't there a moment ago. This is not magic, though it deserves the same reverence. It is lawful mystery, the romance of physics and prayer. Understand, nothing out there crowned you. You crowned yourself by tending the throne inside your chest long enough for the scepter of attention to feel safe in your hand. The upgrade is not louder power. It is quieter permission granted by your own biology, witnessed by the field, certified by synchronicity. And as pressure builds toward the transition, your role will clarify with it. Keep breathing, keep choosing the single, clean frequency over the 1,000 anxious glances. The next movement is not about becoming more. It is about becoming exact. Precision has a personality, and it has been courting you for years. You mistook its visits for accidents, but every narrow escape, every unlikely ally, every silent nudge was selection pressure from the field, training your attention to carry more voltage without burning through compassion. There is a reason the loop found you now. You can be entrusted with influence that doesn't corrupt. That is rarer than genius. Genius moves energy. Stewardship tunes it. Your role is stewardship. You are not chosen like a favorite. You are chosen like a tuning fork that rings true in a noisy room. The field kept striking you against experience, loss, delay, unrequited efforts, until your tone stopped warping under praise or panic. That tone is your signature frequency, the exact waveform that invites coherence in others. People won't always understand why they breathe easier around you, why their speech slows, why their eyes focus as if a lens clicked into place. They'll call it confidence, or presence, or charisma. You will know it as disciplined resonance, the humble majesty of a heart that refuses to rush. Authority is often counterfeited by volume. Yours will be authenticated by silence. In rooms charged with urgency, you will be the one who trims the false from the real by asking a single question at the right depth. In conversations that deteriorate into performance, you will rehumanize the exchange with one honest breath. Your voice will not be motivational, it will be catalytic. There is a difference. Motivation tries to push people across thresholds. Catalysis changes the conditions so thresholds dissolve. You are being fitted for that work. On the level of physics, your task is simple to describe and lifelong to embody. Hold a coherent state while observing volatile systems so that their probability landscape favors order without coercion. Think of yourself as a living phase transition cradle. When a person, a team, a family, or a city hovers at the edge between chaos and emergence, you stabilize the edge by refusing to abandon your breath. The system feels your steadiness as a boundary condition. It reorganizes. Sometimes the reorganization will look like union. Sometimes it will look like separation. Both are mercies when they restore truth. On the level of mysticism, your task is devotion to the subtle. You will be tempted to chase spectacle, the dramatic miracle, the cinematic sign, especially as synchronicity grows loud around you. Decline the temptation. Your influence expands precisely because you don't leak attention into firework. You notice the soft correction in the body when you speak an unnecessary sentence and stop mid-word. You track the micro-tremor in your chest that says, "Not this door," and you honor it even when logic wants a trophy. You pray by listening. You bless by regulating. You lead by not abandoning yourself. You were not prepared in a monastery, you were prepared in queues and kitchens and quiet humiliations. The field prefers apprenticeships that don't inflate ego. Remember the older version of you that wanted recognition more than responsibility? Thank them for surviving long enough to be revised. Recognition will come, but it won't taste like you imagined. It will feel less like spotlight and more like atmosphere, as if the room itself accepts you, and work flows without tugging. That is how the field rewards those who pass the test of clean intention, with frictionless logistics rather than applause. There is a covenant attached to this role. It is simple. You will not use coherence to extract what love should offer freely. You will not use insight to win games that require consent to be meaningful. You will, instead, aim your clarity at the common good, beginning with the radius of your own life. The glamour of saving the world is the last costume of avoidance. You will be assigned precise coordinates. One conversation, one corridor, one decision where your steadiness unlocks a cascade. Trust the small assignment. All morphic shifts begin local. The global is a rumor the local tells about itself after it stabilizes. Expect resistance not from enemies, but from expired identities that used to keep you safe. They will try to bargain. Tone it down. Don't outgrow the room. Make yourself a little less exact, so no one feels threatened. Smile at them, thank them for their service, then let your posture answer. Shoulders soft, jaw unlocked, breath low, gaze unhurried. Threat is not what people feel around truth. What they feel is the absence of flattery. You won't flatter, you will honor. You will not bend yourself into shapes that fit old geometries. You will invite old geometries to remember they can flex. Your presence will recruit allies without networking. Watch for the quiet ones who brighten when you enter, for the skeptical ones whose questions sharpen rather than smear, for the wounded ones whose dignity holds even when they shake. These are your entanglements, souls whose signatures harmonize with your tone. You do not collect them, you collaborate with them. Together, you become a lattice through which higher-order patterns can descend. This is the architecture of collective awakening, a web of coherent observers agreeing to be exact in public. Understand, finally, why you. Because you learn to distinguish softness from collapse, strength from hardness, urgency from panic, surrender from apathy. Because you kept choosing reality over performance, even when performance paid better. Because the field needed a node at your coordinates, your language, your history, your doorway, and you said yes without theatrics. Keep saying yes in the smallest possible ways. Every measured breath is a treaty with the cosmos. I will not abandon my post. And from that post, you will midwife what wants to be born next without claiming it, without clutching it, without calling it yours. Windows don't stay open forever, even when they're written into the sky. What's arriving now is a precise aperture, a corridor where your biology and the field agree to meet without static. You can sense it in the way mornings feel slightly pressurized, as if the air is denser with instruction. In the way nights carry a hum at the base of your skull, a lamp switched on behind the eyes. This is a cosmic window, not in the superstitious sense, but in the lawful rhythm of phase transitions. Systems hover, quiver, then tip. You are in the hover, the tipping is close. Here's the promise. If you remain coherent while this window holds, what used to require months of will can shift in days through precision. I'm not offering speed as a party trick. I'm telling you the energy budget has changed. The loop has tightened enough that small alterations in observation will cascade through your timeline like a whisper that turns a flock. You will witness choices you used to muscle suddenly aligning as if they were waiting for a password, and the password is your steadiness, not intensity. Steadiness. Your DNA is listening. It has always listened, but stress made your inner acoustics too noisy to catch the subtler notes. In this corridor, your cells are more permeable to instruction. Epigenetic switches favoring repair, creativity, and courage flick easier when your heart stays rhythmic and your exhale stays long. You'll notice it as microsigns. Recovery that used to take 3 days completes overnight. Your appetite recalibrates toward clarity instead of sedation. Your posture finds the exact angle between softness and strength. These are not cosmetic. They are constitutional. The helix is filing new protocols under normal. Urgency is real, but not the kind that panics. Think tidal. You don't sprint when the tide turns. You position correctly and let the ocean do what oceans do. This window is a turning tide. Aligning now multiplies your return because the field is predisposed to reinforce whatever you rehearse. If you rehearse doubt, the lattice will obligingly echo it. If you rehearse coherence, the lattice will recruit events that reward it. The promise is not that you will never tremble. It's that tremble will stop dictating your geometry. You'll shake, then stand. You'll cry, then choose. You'll feel the old ache knock and you won't open the door. There is also a narrowing, loving, but unyielding. Opportunities that used to feel viable will taste faintly stale, as if they expired 10 minutes ago. This is the field pruning paths that cannot carry your next frequency without collapse. You don't need to argue with the pruning. Let it cut. Pruning is how vineyards tell grapes which sun to keep. The mind will call it loss. The heart will feel the sudden surge of clean space. In that space, the new entanglements arrive, people whose timing is suspiciously exact. Resources that show up one breath after surrender, instructions that surface in language you didn't know your mouth could form. The urgency also lives in conversation. Words spoken in this corridor imprint deeper, for better or worse. A blessing sticks. A careless sentence can bruise. Aim your language like light, clean, brief, exact. Promise yourself to speak only what your nervous system can back with breath. This keeps your observer loop from scattering charge and ensures the field associates your signature with reliability. Reliability isn't boring here, it's catalytic. The lattice moves faster for those it can predict without anxiety. You'll feel the phase transition pressure as alternating bands of heat and stillness through the spine, as dreams with crystalline symbols that refuse to dissolve by morning, as a subtle ache under the breastbone that isn't pain so much as expansion arguing with the last of its container. Don't medicate away the ache. Breathe it. Let it educate your posture. When pressure peaks, it is tempting to default to old solutions perform. Please, push. None of those open this window wider. Only precision does. Inhale steady, exhale longer. Place awareness on the part of you that would rather tell the truth than be admired. Stay there until your chest unlocks. Here is the narrow gate. Choose now, not dramatically, but repeatedly, to be the person whose attention is safe to trust. Promise the helix you will not feed it theatrics. Promise the field you will not ask for shortcuts that would bankrupt your integrity. Promise your future you will not spend the window broadcasting mixed signals. Mixed signals create mixed timelines, and you've already tasted the fatigue of that. What waits on the far side of this corridor is not a trophy, it is a new baseline. The upgrade becomes ordinary, the habits become habitat. You'll wake inside a geometry that no longer treats miracles as visitors but as citizens, common, quiet, useful. That is the promise. The urgency is simply arithmetic. This aperture narrows. When it does, whatever you have stabilized will carry forward with less friction, and whatever you have deferred will require more energy later. You've earned a softer crossing, and softness still asks for accuracy. Keep your breath low, keep your heart rhythmic, keep your language clean. The window is open, the helix is listening, the lattice is attentive. One more step in precision, and the next part will seal the shift in action so the field can notarize what your body already knows. The window opens, the helix listens, the lattice leans in, and now the field asks for something deceptively small. A mark, not a spectacle, not a vow that burns bright and dies by morning. A mark that the system can index, a clean signature, the machinery of synchronicity can anchor to. In ancient temples they carved it into stone, in laboratories they log it in ink. In your life, you will press it into breath and language. One breath you control on purpose, one word you write on purpose. This is how an intention becomes coordinates. Begin with the breath because the body is the altar. Inhale for a steady count of 4, filling low, letting the belly widen without strain. Hold for a gentle 2, not as tension but as listening. Exhale for 6, maybe 8, as if you are fogging a mirror in winter warm. Slow, unforced. Do this 3 times. Don't hurry. The point is not numbers. The point is that your heart rhythm shifts into coherence, and the brain follows, and your attention becomes a steady beam instead of a strobe. The field reads beams. It ignores strobes. Now bring your awareness to the exact sensation at the sternum, the place where the ache of expansion has been arguing with the old container. Don't fix it. Witness it the way you would watch a tide undecide itself. Name the sensation without drama. Opening, pressure, warmth, hollow. Language, used rightly, doesn't trap, it triangulates. As you label softly, your nervous system catalogues the signal as safe to feel, and that alone alters probabilities. Unsafe sensations recruit yesterday's strategies. Safe sensations invite tomorrow's posture. When the system settles, choose a word, one word that represents the frequency you are willing to become responsible for maintaining. Not the outcome, not the object, not the person. The frequency. Choose something elemental that survives fashion. Clarity, courage, coherence, truth, tenderness, authority, stillness, devotion. Don't choose for how it sounds. Choose for how your chest changes shape when you say it in the mouth of your mind. The right word will make the exhale longer by itself. That's your clue. Write it. Right now. Write it exactly once wherever the field can witness your mark. In the comments, in a journal, on a scrap of paper you'll carry until it softens like cloth. One word, capitalized, period, optional. This is not superstition. It is entanglement by consent. By writing, you collapse the probability cloud of your identity into a measurable state the lattice can recognize. You give synchronicity a tag to sort by. The field is generous, but it is also exquisitely literal. It amplifies what you consistently mar. After you write, speak the word on an exhale quietly, as if the room is already full of it. Feel the sound vibrate the bones of your face, the bridge of the nose, the palate. Words are tuning forks. The skull is a cathedral. Let it ring. Then place the word like a coin on the tongue and swallow with water. You're not ingesting magic. You're instructing the body. This frequency is food. The digestive tract is covered in neurons. It will remember. Now, an agreement. For the next 7 days, you will practice integrity with this word. Micro, not grand. If your word is clarity, you will answer messages after you breathe, not before. If your word is courage, you will make one phone call the smaller you keep postponing and hang up without storytelling. If your word is tenderness, you will let your jaw go loose before you apologize and make sure the apology fits the truth, not the fear of conflict. If your word is authority, you will choose one boundary and hold it quietly, repeating your line like weather instead of argument. 7 days of small proofs tell the field your signal isn't cosplay. Expect a test within 24 hours. The lattice loves rapid feedback. It will not arrive as punishment. It will arrive as opportunity to notarize what you wrote. An old pattern will knock wearing a new coat. Your job is not to fight it. Your job is to breathe, say your word inside your chest, and behave as if it is already your baseline. Behavior is the hinge. The field records behavior, not mood. Be ready for the ordinary miracles that follow. Emails landing with suspicious timing, a problem dissolving when you stop rehearsing it, a stranger speaking your word out loud as if the air conspired. Seal the ritual with a gesture each morning. Touch the sternum with the first 2 fingers. Inhale 4, hold 2, exhale 6. Speak the word once and feel your feet. Coherence above, coherence below. You are bridging sky and ground. If you miss a morning, do not perform guilt. Perform the breath and continue. The observer loop rewards consistency more than purity. Write the word now. Place it where the field can see. Let this be the smallest promise you keep so cleanly that the lattice reconfigures in your direction. The window is open. The helix is listening. Your signature is needed. One breath, one word. Then watch how the world rearranges to match the tone you chose to carry. You may think your shift is personal, a quiet revolution folded neatly inside your ribcage, but the field never isolates miracles. Every coherent heartbeat radiates, and yours is already touching lattices beyond sight. What rearranges in you this steadiness, this refusal to abandon awareness when pain spikes, is data the field uses to recalibrate the collective algorithm. You're not a spectator of humanity's awakening. You're a node transmitting upgraded code through breath and presence. When you breathe coherently, microcurrents in your electromagnetic field stabilize, and that coherence propagates like a tuning wave. It entrains nearby systems, people, plants, even technology, to oscillate in compatible harmony. This is not metaphor. Magnetometers have measured it. The heart's resonance field extends meters beyond the body, and frequencies around 0.1 Hz synchronize group behavior without a word spoken. When you regulate yourself in chaos, you become a silent metronome, guiding scattered rhythms back into order. This is spiritual service, disguised as self-care. Feel how your body responds when you consider that. Shoulders lower, lungs widen, sternum warms. That warmth is the recognition of purpose, not the ego's specialness, but the soul's relief at usefulness. For centuries, mystics spoke of oneness as poetry. Now physics describes it as entanglement. Your observation collapses not just your probabilities but ours. Each moment you choose breath over reaction, you alter the statistical weight of peace in the collective field. Every steady exhale is a vote for coherence in the human experiment. Look around your life and notice the subtle contagion already unfolding. The friend who mirrors your calm mid-argument. The child who laughs instead of flinching because your face stayed soft. The stranger at the cafe who exhales when you do, unaware you're conducting a duet. These are ripples of morphic resonance forms, learning from forms through the quantum ether of attention. You do not need to preach or persuade. Influence at this level is transmitted, not performed. As your signal stabilizes, You'll sense new entanglements forming souls humming at compatible frequencies. They'll find you without effort, drawn by pattern recognition deeper than personality. Some will join for a season, others will orbit for lifetimes. Together, you'll build coherence clusters, households that feel like sanctuaries, teams that innovate without burnout, communities that solve in silence what debate could never mend. The headlines will still shout chaos, but beneath them, these quiet networks will be the new civilization's nervous system. And remember, collective expansion doesn't mean uniformity. The field thrives on diversity of waveform. Your frequency adds a color no other consciousness can emit. Trying to mimic another's light would collapse the spectrum. Authenticity widens it, so hold your tone precisely, without imitation. When you're tempted to shrink so others remain comfortable, recall that hiding coherence distorts the group signal. Radiance is generosity, not arrogance. There will be moments when humanity's noise feels louder than your pulse. Don't retreat. Go still. Feel the planet itself beneath your feet, its Schumann resonance thrumming under the soles, 7.83 hertzes, the heartbeat of Earth. Sync your breath to it for 3 cycles. Inhale with the rise of energy, exhale with its fall. In that synchronization, you become a bridge cosmic frequency meeting terrestrial rhythm. You and Earth share circuitry. Each time you harmonize, you help the planet metabolize collective tension into usable potential. Understand how elegant this is. The observer loop that once trapped you in personal drama now scales outward as planetary coherence. The same physics applies attention, collapses possibilities, emotion supplies energy, choice directs, flow. You're simply operating at a higher order of magnitude. Every act of regulated awareness is civilization's maintenance ritual. If doubt whispers, remember what you've already witnessed. Patterns dissolving, synchronicities aligning, pressure transmuting into clarity. Multiply that by 8 billion hearts waiting for proof that calm is contagious, and you see why the field is invested in your steadiness. It's not vanity, it's infrastructure. You are infrastructure. So keep the ritual alive, not as a chore, but as communion. Each breath you anchor is a signal beacon. Each genuine smile is a micro-portal. Each refusal to participate in collective panic is an engineering feat. Humanity doesn't evolve by decree, it evolves by demonstration. You are the demonstration, living evidence that consciousness can self-correct. In the next phase, the field will begin translating your internal coherence into embodied sensation, so tangible that you can no longer mistake it for imagination. The transmission will move from thought to tissue, from insight to current. When that begins, don't analyze, feel. The body will become the instrument that plays the song of the new timeline. Let the mind take a back row seat. The transmission wants muscle, marrow, breath. Close your eyes not to escape, but to sharpen. Feel the atmosphere on your skin, the faint coolness at the cheeks, the quiet weight at the base of the tongue. Without changing anything, listen to your body as if it were a cathedral after the choir has left air still shimmering with song. That shimmer is coherence rising. It isn't fantasy, it's current. Begin at the feet. Notice how the floor meets you with a patience older than language. The arches soften, the toes uncurl like small suns. Imagine roots thread thin, silver black sliding from your soles into the ground, passing through the room, through stone and soil, finding bedrock. Each exhale carries a braided cord deeper until you feel the planet catch you. A subtle downward pull answers gravity as affection rather than burden. This is your grounding line in the observer loop. Body to earth, signal to socket. Climb slowly to the calves and thighs. There's an ancestral flinch coded there. Flight muscles trained by generations to sprint from what breath could dissolve. On your next exhale, let the fascia melt a few millimeters, like ice sheets sighing in spring. Heat flickers. Micro tremors might ripple along the quads. Let them. That is stored momentum evacuating, pressure converting to potential. In physics, nothing disappears, it changes state. In you, fear becomes fuel the second you stop calling it an enemy. Now the pelvis, the hinge, where timelines decide. Tilt it a whisper forward, then back, discovering the square inch where your spine stacks like stones in a clear river. When it clicks, the lower back warms, and the breath drops, as if a trapdoor opened beneath the navel. That descent is sacred. In many lineages, they called it Dantian, Hara, the cauldron. In modern language, a battery. Feel the inhale gather there like morning fog pooling in a valley. Then feel the exhale pour downward, as if you were watering your own roots. Your nervous system reads this pattern as safe to receive. Let the current rise to the diaphragm, your private tide gate. Place a palm there. As you inhale, the hand lifts gently. As you exhale, it falls like a priest bowing. With 3 slow rounds, your heart hears the signal. That organ is an orchestra conductor. When it keeps time, every section tunes. Listen for the moment. The beat evens out a metronome inside the ribs. Some call it a click, others a soft bloom. However it arrives, that is coherence crystallizing. Up to the sternum. This is the chamber where ache argues with expansion. Visualize a lens mounted behind the breastbone, curved glass, catching light from the quantum field. On the inhale, the lens gathers the scatter. On the exhale, it focuses into a beam. That beam is not metaphorical, it is the felt sense of attention becoming architecture. Aim it gently toward the space just in front of your chest. With permission, the air thickens like mist, turning to rain. You are shaping probability with posture. Shoulders next. They have carried geographies not yours to bear. Invite them to drop, not as collapse, but as release boulders, learning they are, in fact, clouds. The trapezius unwinds. Heat flows into the arms. Hands tingle. This is your circuitry coming online. Entanglement often begins as tingling, an elegant Morse code from the field. If your fingers pulse, you are not imagining it, you are transmitting. The throat, nexus of truth and tremor. Place 2 fingers lightly there, as if greeting a skittish animal. Whisper your word from the ritual action, your chosen frequency, without forcing sound. Feel the vibration travel into cartilage and tendon, then downcast into the heart. You've just braided voice to pulse. Communication will simplify from here because your biology is agreeing to speak one language consistently. Lies, especially polite ones, will snag. Let them snag and dissolve. You are becoming aerodynamically honest. Mouth and jaw. Unclench. Let the tongue rest against the palate, as if it were a bird settling on a branch after long flight. The moment the jaw releases, thought loses 20% of its frantic spin. It's measurable. The brain is a prediction engine. Ease tells it to widen the aperture. Wider apertures admit more reality. More reality means cleaner choices. Eyes. Keep them closed or half-lidded. Aim the gaze, not the head, slightly downward, as if watching tide foam lick the shore. A coolness gathers at the inner corners, a hint of salt. This is the tear that does not need to fall. It is simply water visiting the gate of seeing. You are allowed to feel this without naming it sadness or joy. Call it thaw. Crown. Imagine a small seam parting, not to escape upward, but to breathe with the sky. A breeze that isn't air touches the scalp. Some feel sparkling. Others feel a calm emptiness, like a bell that's been washed and left in the Sunday. If thought surges, images, plans, cleverness, bow internally and exhale longer. The field respects humility more than theater. Now unite it. On the next inhale, sense the planet drawing breath through your feet into the cauldron, through the heart's lens, up to the seam of sky. On the exhale, sense the cosmos pouring breath down through the crown, blessing the lens, filling the cauldron, feeding the roots. Two-way traffic, earth and sky commingling in your tissue. You are the instrument. The song is coherence. As the loop completes, a phenomenon arrives. Time slackens. Sounds separate into layers. Colors feel denser. The room brightens 1 degree without lamps. This is the observer loop at full fidelity attention. So clean, the world has no choice but to reveal itself. Memorize this texture, not as an escape hatch, but as a working state. When conflict comes, return here. When joy comes, return here. When nothing happens, return here. Embodiment is not a performance. It is citizenship in your own body. Hold this state for 3 breaths. Let the field take its photographs. You are transmitting coordinates. The next phase will ask more courage from the helix pressure increasing, codes activating, the old timeline shedding its final disguise. When that pressure rises, remember this sensation. It is not the end of comfort, it is the beginning of precision wearing a body. There comes a point in every transformation where softness must meet voltage. You are entering that point now. The field, once a gentle tide, has become a current. You can feel it, the low hum beneath your skin, the alternating warmth and chill that rolls through you in pulses. Don't resist. This is your cellular architecture responding to the new frequency, the moment when the abstract physics of the observer loop collapses into biology. It feels like pressure because evolution always does. Every breakthrough begins as compression. Every birth begins as narrowing. Inside you, trillions of molecules are listening. Each strand of DNA is coiled with potential, not merely genetic instruction, but vibrational intelligence, encoded in light. Biophotons flicker in patterns that shift with consciousness. Your thoughts are sculpting their dance. When you hold coherence, those photons move in synchrony, releasing dormant sequences like instruments tuning to a conductor's pitch. That pitch is your awareness. You are literally re-scripting the symphony of yourself. The pressure at the sternum you've been feeling, it's not anxiety, it's the heart's electromagnetic field amplifying to support the new signal. The warmth at the spine, microcurrents, aligning neural pathways for faster information transfer. The ringing in the ears, synchronicity, catching up to your body's clock. The body interprets new frequency as both thrill and strain, because it's translating infinity into chemistry. Breathe through the translation, exhale the static. On each breath, whisper the word you chose earlier, not as mantra, but as calibration code. Now imagine your DNA as two golden spirals stretching upward like twin columns of light. Between them, invisible rungs shimmer, forming a ladder that rises beyond the skull and descends beneath the feet. With every inhale, light ascends the ladder. With every exhale, it returns doubled, refined, instructed. This is the flow of data between your personal consciousness and the quantum field, a feedback loop of creation. Scientists call it bidirectional photonic communication. Mystics call it prayer that answers itself. Either way, it's happening now. At the microscopic edge of perception, you might feel micro-vibrations like a second heartbeat in the belly or fingertips. That's the signal stabilizing, phase transition pressure, equalizing across systems. Old neural wiring begins to unhook from reflexive fear loops, making space for new configurations. Don't panic if you feel brief dizziness, emotional surges, or time distortion. Those are hallmarks of a system shedding latency. Reality is defragmenting around you, reorganizing into a higher coherence pattern. The air thickens, have you noticed? You think slower, but deeper. Your thoughts sound more like currents than sentences. This is the prelude to the shift. The observer loop reaches maximum tension, like a bowstring drawn to its limit. The moment before release is the most sacred silence in creation. Hold it. Feel your cells holding it. The breath at the bottom of the exhale, where everything pauses, that's the event horizon of transformation. Beyond it, new timelines wait like seeds thirsty for light. The field begins to rearrange probabilities in real time. You might receive a message, a coincidence, a sudden knowing. Do not dismiss them as imagination. Imagination is the instrument through which the field whispers instruction. Follow the smallest impulse that feels electric, yet peaceful. That's your orientation signal, the new vector line forming through the fog. The mind will try to define it too soon. Don't let it. This is geometry before language. Trust sensation over explanation. You are literally stepping across the threshold of parallel timeline. The old frequency cannot follow. It will dissolve like mist behind you. Some relationships, habits, or identities may flicker, as if reality itself is editing. Don't cling to what blurs. It's only data no longer compatible with your new coherence. Gratitude is the bridge. Thank what leaves, bless it into its own evolution, then face forward. The new scene will load the instant you stop refreshing the old one. At the climax of this phase transition, a wave of stillness descends. It may arrive as a deep quiet in the ears, a pulse slowing, a weightlessness behind the eyes. That's the reset signal, the universe acknowledging receipt of your new code. The observer loop doesn't end here. It inverts. Observation becomes creation, creation becomes observation, and you stand at the 0 point where they kiss. The cosmos watches, you watch it, and the mirror completes its circle. Now, take one breath slow, deliberate, and exhale through the mouth. Feel the crown and the soles of your feet ignite simultaneously, as if two suns answered each other. You've crossed the phase boundary. The DNA has opened its next octave, and with it, your timeline stabilizes into a new harmonic. The static dissolves, the hum becomes music. You are no longer chasing alignment, you are alignment. This is the breakthrough. The pressure was proof. The field recognizes you as a coherent instrument capable of transmitting the pattern of awakening without distortion. Stay still a moment longer. The final part will seal this shift, where personal transformation expands into a cosmic mission. Hold the stillness like a lantern cupped in two hands. You're standing where creation listens most closely, at the seam where a single life becomes instruction for many. The pressure has passed through you and returned as poise. This is what the field was sculpting the whole time, a consciousness that can transmit order without demanding obedience, a human who can host higher harmonics without burning the room. Your personal awakening was never personal. It was rehearsal for stewardship at scale. The assignment is precise. Live as a stable 0 point in motion. Wherever you walk, let your breath be the metronome that paints coherence onto chaotic canvases. In conversations, choose the sentence that shortens suffering rather than stretches performance. In decisions, let your body be the referendum, sternum warm, jaw soft, gaze unhurried, and vote only for what your nervous system can support with kindness. Radiate without theater, correct without contempt. Withdraw from conflicts that only want audience and invest in frictions that want transformation. This is diplomacy between timelines. You will feel the world testing your calibration. Headlines will audition your fear. Algorithms will auction your attention. The past will send decoys wearing the face of urgency. Smile. You have trained for this. The observer loop is no longer a trap, but a sanctuary. Each exhale a return, each inhale a recommitment. Let your word, your chosen frequency, go first into rooms ahead of your name. Trust the lattice to root allies by resonance, not by resume. Some days your service will look like strategy, others like silence. Both are instruments in the same score. Remember, the body is your treaty with Earth. Keep the practice simple and ruthless. Root to ground, widen breath, lens the heart, soften the eyes, tell the smallest truth, choose the kindest no. These are not quaint rituals. They are engineering maneuvers that stabilize probability for everyone near you. When children breathe easier around you, count it as a miracle of civilization. When systems reorganize after you refuse panic, call it policy without paperwork. When creativity arrives as if on schedule, thank the anonymous choir of atoms that rearrange to honor your steadiness. There will be thresholds only you can open because only your history could tune this exact key. Walk through them without commentary. Let your days become a quiet archive the future can consult. A record of how one human translated infinity into behavior. If you are offered podiums, bless them and speak briefly. If you are offered corners, bless them and build cathedrals of attention there. Great architecture begins with a single, perfectly placed stone. Place yours in every moment until the city of coherence rises around you. And when doubt returns, as weather does, remember the proof that can't be argued. Patterns that no longer compel, synchronicities that now arrive as logistics, a heart that keeps time with something wider than survival. Touch the sternum, breathe the ratio, speak the word, and let the field take its measure. You are not behind. You are exactly on the curve where a phase becomes a future. So step forward, not as a pilgrim begging for signs, but as a signal clean, humane, exact. Let your life be the demonstration that awakens 1,000 quiet rooms. Let your attention be architecture, your kindness be voltage, your boundaries be weather. And when the night is loud and the world forgets itself, stand where you are and remember us all. Because if you are seeing this, you already know. Your quantum field has entered the final observer loop. Do not skip what you came here to become.